Okay, here we go. Attempt 3 to do this video. Welcome back to it. So we got Dire Straits, and this is a ranking video. Of course, Dire Straits was a massively successful kind of 70s, 80s era rock band. Little bit survived into the 90s, not so much. And of course, Dire Straits started out as a very band-oriented project, and then morphed into more of a vehicle for Mark Knopfler and his, his lyrics and his masterful guitar work. Mark is one of the best guitarists in the world, in my opinion. And yeah, so let's just take a look. I've got these all out of order because I've tried to film this twice, and they both failed for different reasons. So we're going to go with number 9. Get this out of the way, is that this is just my personal opinion, and, my opinion comes from a place of love. Even this last record, does have its merits, and, I like them all enough to have them all. So, and by record, I mean cassette. Twisting by the Pool. This actually did have a single off it. This was released in 1982, and yeah, it had a single and video for Twisting by the Pool, which did get a little bit of MTV airplay, which is very funny because it's like a 50s, 60s throwback, really catchy, very not indicative of what was popular and going on in the 80s, and yeah, it's a catchy enough song. It's definitely unexpected. It doesn't sound like Dire Straits. Badges, posters, stickers, and t-shirts. I think this is one of the only places you can get that song. I'm pretty sure it was a B-side to a single as well. Some people go, oh, that's kind of a hidden gem of their discography, but for me it's probably their most boring song. It just sounds like Mark talking over some music that isn't really that interesting. I like how instead of side A, side B, it's listed this twist with the 2 songs and that twist. Two Young Lovers is also on here, which of course people would know better from Alchemy Live, that record. Speaking of, Alchemy Live will be number 8. And for a lot of people that will be kind of sacrilege, because people argue all day till the cows come home over if this is like the best Dire Straits or their best live album. Some people think it's one of the best live albums of all time, and some people like me would prefer a different Dire Straits live era. This is definitely alright. The problem is Pick Withers wasn't drumming for them anywhere. They had Terry Williams, and Terry's all fine and well, but Pick Withers had such a unique style, and he had some great fills, and yeah, I just prefer what he did with the band, to be honest. And I will say though, Terry's work on Sultans of Swing is amazing. That's where he really shines, that track, and that's where the whole band shines. This is my favorite versions of Sultans, so it's funny that this is so low, but some of the other songs sound a little mechanical, like maybe the band's getting bored of playing them, or I don't know, there's just something about it. But it's not bad, that's for sure. I've definitely, I didn't really listen to this that much when I got it, but I have the DVD of it, and I've watched this quite a few times, so I still like it, don't get me wrong. But yeah, there's so many great versions of Sultans of Swing out there, and I gotta say that, there's this solo one that Mark does in 1995, 1996, you can find on YouTube, but that version beats even that, so yeah, that's just my favorite version by far. The guitar solo kind of makes me tear up a little bit, it's so good. It blows me away. Number 7, Making Movies. This is some people's favorite Dire Straits album, and it's definitely good. It's got Tunnel of Love, which is an 8-minute rocker. with the carousel waltz opening it up. Yeah, not to be confused with Springsteen's Tunnel of Love, but this is a great rocker, like I said. One of their best. Romeo and Juliet juggles tragedy and humor as well as even Shakespeare would. I love how like colloquial the language is on it. It's Romeo and Juliet, so it's Shakespeare's tale, but then it's like, hey, what's that? It's Romeo. You nearly gave me a heart attack. He's underneath the window. And she says, my boyfriend's back, or something like that. Skate Away, of course, which was a single, but kind of a forgotten song nowadays. It had a video and everything. And people love their Espresso Love and Solid Rock. Those ones are great. Hand in Hand's even good, so... I just don't like Less Boys. I think other than the Posters track from the Twisting by the Pool, that's my other least favorite. Those are like the only two tracks I ever want to skip by Dire Straits. I just don't find Less Boys very interesting or engaging or funny or much of anything. Next up is going to be Communique. This one would be great to have a LP copy of. So yeah, it's number 6, but it's great. There's not a bad song on here. Portobello Bell, not Portobello Blue. That one's very pretty. Angel of Mercy, wow. Lady Writer, everyone knows that one. Once Upon a Time in the West. That's probably one of the best things the band did. I love that one. Yeah, Communique is fun. The title track. Not a bad song on this one. This is a really nice little record. It kind of, this isn't a criticism, but it really follows the blueprint from the eponymous, the debut. And, you know, it builds on it a little bit, but it's the only Dire Straits record where it does kind of sound a little bit like the one that came before it. But yeah, it's got enough of its own flavor, but, you know, when they go on to making movies and then Love Over Gold, like those all have such a distinct style to them. So Communique, so now we're going to do On Every Street, and this is definitely higher than a lot of people would put it. And I will admit, it is probably more inconsistent than Communique. So you're going, well, why are you putting it above? Well, I think because the heights of this record are higher. Like, Calling Elvis is one of my favorite Dire Straits songs. And On Every Street, like, that song takes a long time to get going, but, you know, if you're patient, and I am with good music, man, it's worth it. The payoff, yeah, it's just great. And then it's got that kind of rolling outro. Mark's playing on it is absolutely fabulous. Fade to Black, When It Comes to You, those are good. You and Your Friend is good. Heavy Fuel is really one of the only... It's funny that they were huge stadium rockers, selling out stadiums, playing to the biggest crowds ever in 1992. This came out in 91, by the way. And then Heavy Fuel is really the only rocker, like rocking song. Planet of New Orleans is really good. Yeah. The Bug is okay. Okay, so we'll put a really bad edit there. So, yeah, The Bug, I mean, it's... You know, I say I don't like it, or I don't like it that much, but I would still give it a decent 3 out of 5, because it's, you know, it's catchy, and I respect Mark for dabbling in different genres, and, yeah, it's just not, it's not like the best of his ability or something, but I respect the man because he's dabbled in, what, every genre ever, you know? He's done the country thing, he's done the flamenco, he's done pub rock, blues rock, progressive rock even. Who'd have thunk it? But it kind of creeps its way into one of the albums we'll talk about in a minute here. So, oh, number 4 was really hard for me. And even now I'm going, which way do I go with this? But I'm going to pick the big behemoth. Diamond in Canada, 9 times platinum in the US, I think 9 times or diamond in the UK. This album was an absolute monster. And, yeah, just crazy, just this gargantuan thing. And, you know, it's an amazing album, but at the same time it's kind of a product of its time. And I think it was the first album to be put out in digital, and it was definitely one of the first CDs that people were buying. They could buy the CD over the record, and that was a new thing. And they were trying to show off the digital sound and the CD sound, and yeah, it's a weird record though, because yeah, it's got, you know, So Far Away. The full version is one of my favorite Dire Straits songs, and the full Money for Nothing, like the 8-minute version with the whole intro and the sort of controversial now second verse. I mean, I love that full version, man. It's so good. And Walk of Life is a step down from those two, but really catchy and great, you know, sporting event song, Your Latest Trick. But the weird thing about this record is, you know, they're so fragmented. Like, they're so not a band by this one anymore. And Terry Williams is finally like a member on a studio recording, but he only plays on like, what, 4 tracks or something? There's so much drum machine and, you know, kind of electronic stuff, synthesizers. There's a bunch of tracks that don't really have any drum play. And yeah, when they do, there's a lot of, you know, digital electronic drumming going on. So it feels like a different Dire Straits for sure. But I almost did put it at number 3. And I think years ago I might have, but anyway, nothing but love for it. It's just a really weird one. For, you know, it's kind of the opposite of this. So this is number 3. Their debut. What a beauty. So understated except for Sultans of Swing. But you know, Down to the Waterline is a great opener. One of my favorites from the group. Water of Love is great. You know, Setting Me Up is catchy. There's not much to say about that one, but it's good. Six Blade, nice. Southbound Again. Wild West End, I love that one. And I love when they used to do it live. It got dropped pretty soon after maybe the Communique tour, or maybe the one after. But yeah, it's an interesting little record. It's so consistent. Like, yeah, Sultans kind of stands above the rest as like this huge 5 out of 5 one, but all the other tracks are good. I think the consistency is what helps this one, you know. They're very much a band. They were a 4-piece to start with. This is before Guy Fletcher was working with Mark, and has worked ever since with Mark for, what, 40 years now or something? But of course you got Brother David in the group, the amazing Pick Withers. Man, I really can't talk today, I'm sorry. And John Elsley on bass. Alright. Next up, as he reaches for it, On the Night. And yes, this is the DVD copy. I would love to have, I don't know if there is an LP copy. There must be. But, yeah, when I was going through the collection the day before yesterday and kind of prepping for this and listening to Dire Straits a lot, I thought, yeah, I really need to get the CD of this. And yeah, number 2. I know for some bands I seem to be incorporating live in, and some I'm not, so these are kind of inconsistent, but hey, they're my list, so I'll do what I want here. But yeah, it's definitely an opinion, a choice to put On the Night over Alchemy, and put Alchemy so low, but I just, I wouldn't say I like the set list more, I just like the performance more. And you know, by now, this is kind of the antithesis of the album I just talked about, the eponymous debut one, because look, there's like 9 or 10 of them right up there on stage, so big full sound and, you know, huge arenas. I think they played to like 7 million people on that tour, if you you know, put all their audience numbers together. 7 million people, and then broke up. So yeah, this is just 90 some odd minutes of absolute beauty. Great version of Private Investigations. Romeo and Juliet was still in the set list, that's great. This version of Calling Elvis, which I think runs for like 11 minutes, is crazy good. I love it. I love the live version of that. On Every Street. Money for Nothing was becoming a little sloppy by now. I think Mark was only playing it because he knew people wanted to hear it, but he didn't enjoy playing it anymore. You can tell, like, from concerts from '88, it's already like, here's Money for Nothing, you punters, like. Yeah, and Solid Rock is still in the set list. This set list definitely leans heavy on Heavy Fuel on Every Street, but so if you're not a fan of that, maybe you wouldn't like it. But the live versions do have an extra punch to them. The only song I would change out is The Bug and put something really awesome in there, like Telegraph Road, or, you know, one of my favorite Dire Straits songs. And speaking of Telegraph Road, here we go. We're finally here at number 1, Love Over Gold. I know Mark himself has said that he kind of regrets the production for this record because he heard it like the day it was released or the week it was released in a pub, and he said, wow, it sounds so flat, like we really messed this one up. But and I can see where he's coming from, and it does sound like a progressive rock record. It doesn't sound like Dire Straits at all. But it's funny, he thought it was so overproduced, and then they went to go do Brothers in Arms a few years later, because, you know, that's the epitome of overproduced. And, you know, as much as I love them, that's kind of the problem with the band, is that in the studio they would get very overproduced, but it doesn't matter. This is, like, to me, a 5 out of 5 record. There's only 5 cuts. Telegraph Road is probably my favorite studio Dire Straits song. All 14 minutes, 20 seconds of that one. It's just beautiful. The progression of it, the solo, you know, it's so patient, but it's so good. And you have a little bit of history in there. And, you know, Mark Knopfler's really good at that, you know, telling stories, whether they're fictional or historical, something that happened to him, something that, you know, a character he made up, they happened to. Private Investigations, wow. That's another one of my all-time favorites. Like, both of those songs are top 10 Dire Straits for me. And that's a really patient song, and I think it went to number 4 in the UK, and didn't even, like, chart over here. I think it did okay in Canada, actually, but it didn't even chart in the States, and that really shows the patience of listeners, and the radio programs, and everyone's headspace was different. Industrial Disease is a lot of fun. It's kind of this album's Money for Nothing or Heavy Fuel. It's just a rocker with funny lyrics, very funny. I just like the part where he yells out, "How come Jesus gets industrial disease?" And Love Over Gold, that one would be a live staple for a long time. That's a really nice song, very chill. And then It Never Rains, which, this is saying a lot, but that's the most Bob Dylan that Mark has ever sounded, in my opinion. And he does sound quite like Bob Dylan on some of these records, his voice and his poetry, even though he has a different writing style for sure. And of course they worked together in the late 70s and then in the 80s. And some people don't like the work they did together, but I think the one, what's the one with Joker Man, Infidels, is probably one of my favorite Bob Dylan records. It might be my favorite, that or Blood on the Tracks, and I know that's very sacrilegious to say, and trust me, I love Blonde on Blonde and all those ones, Highway and Bringing It All Back Home. But yeah, I think that maybe Infidels, that ranks up for me. But yeah, I love this record, and I have the CD over here somewhere. And so anyway, that's it. Dire Straits. So thanks for watching, everyone. Obviously, with a band like Dire Straits, you could go with any of these as your favorite, though. If you pick Twisting by the Pool, I'd go, that's a little questionable. But yeah, you could pick any of the studio LPs, and I don't think you'd get really a weird look, even if you said On Every Street's my favorite. I've seen that some places. And I think most of the records here, except for Making Movies, have been my favorite at one point or another. Like, going back, and which is kind of ironic because Making Movies is the one that I so often see the hardcore fans pick. And it's great. I mean, you can't beat those first few songs on it. But it lets me down at the end there. And the fact that it has like one of the only recorded songs of Dire Straits' catalog that I don't really like, that's what kind of makes it lower. But yeah, if you picked any of these as your personal favorite, I could totally see why. Because they're just such a great band, and so grateful for Mark and his place on the earth and his incredible songwriting and guitar playing even more so. Yeah, so thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate it greatly, and we'll catch you in the next video. Adios.